Hey everybody, what's up? It's Kenny Atomic, and we're actually outside today. Today is actually the first day of fall, and I figure since spooky season's right around the corner, I thought I would actually talk to you guys about my favorite movie of all time, Army of Darkness. So, this video we're going to talk about it, my thoughts on it, my feelings about it, and just some in-depth analysis on its horror elements and fantasy elements as well. So, sit back and enjoy this video. It's safe to say that the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness franchise really affected my childhood because I was always that one kid in school, elementary, middle school, high school that always liked the weird, obscure movies. And I think the Evil Dead and Army of Darkness franchise was actually the movie that put me on that road. I remember it was being like the summer of 2008 where I actually figured out what it was called, Evil Dead, and I was just obsessed with Ash and his cool chainsaw hand because I actually bought the Xbox game called Evil Dead Fistful of Boomstick, and the game was hard as hell, but I just liked playing as Ash with his shotgun and chainsaw hand, just killing zombies and deadites throughout Michigan, because there really wasn't a lot of stuff about Michigan growing up.
Let's hear it for Michigan!
My parents kind of knew about my fascination of Army of Darkness and Evil Dead, and I remember one day I was in 5th grade, my dad called me up and said, "Hey, your movie about the chainsaw guy is on ABC Family. You should watch it." So I immediately turned on ABC Family and watched that entire movie, and I was enthralled with it. And ever since then, it's been my favorite movie ever since. I remember like the following weekend, I actually bought every single movie that Walmart had of the Evil Dead franchise, and I loved every single minute of it. And the Evil Dead franchise has just always been something that's been close to my heart. I actually remember my dad found a really rare director's cut of Army of Darkness, and that was just a wild movie. So it's safe to say that Army of Darkness is one of my favorite movies, and I think if I had to surmount it, I think that the Evil Dead franchise is almost like the Ninja Turtle fandom, because every entry that like you get, no matter how weird and bizarre it is, it's all really good. Everything about it is really good. Alright, so now that we're back inside and I changed some clothes and I got a brand new haircut, let's go and talk about Army of Darkness. So Army of Darkness is one of those movies I feel like doesn't really get talked a lot about its significance and just culture-wise. And also within the Evil Dead fandom, I feel like a lot of people always say like, "No way, it's Evil Dead. No way, it's Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn," or "No man, it's the Freddy Alvarez Evil Dead, even that's the best one," or "No, it's Evil Dead Rise is one of the best one." I feel like Army of Darkness is kind of like one of those abandoned stepchild movies, so I figure this movie deserves its flowers anyways. But before we get into that a little bit, I want to summarize the movie a little bit so you guys can know what this movie is about really, and just why I think it's the coolest movie of all time. Alright, back on the couch again. New shirt, same cool new haircut, but we're going to be summarizing the plot of Army of Darkness. Anyways, let's begin. The movie takes place after the events of Evil Dead 2, where we find Ash back in time, back in medieval England. Ash is then taken prisoner by Lord Arthur and his knights, who are also captured Henry the Red and his men, because Lord Arthur believes that Henry has something to do with the Deadites being in the land, as well as Ash. Back at their castle for Lord Arthur and his men, we run into a woman named Sheila. She's informed that her brother is killed in battle, and she instantly blames Ash for it, beating him up. Lord Arthur and his men leading all these people off to this pit to be killed by a demon below. Once Ash makes it down there, he discovers it's actually a Deadite that's actually been killing people. So Ash fights off this Deadite the best he can. Then the wise man, that also is counsel to Lord Arthur, hands Ash his chainsaw and boomstick. Ash easily defeats this creature as best as he can, escapes the pit. He puts Lord Arthur in his place and is then seen as a badass in his kingdom. While relaxing, the wise man actually explains to Ash that, the reason why all these Deadites are here right now are because of the Necronomicon. You need to find the Necronomicon, say these magical words, words and then everything will be over. Ash is kind of like hesitant on doing this, but he's like, all right, I will do it, because he just got attacked by a woman who just got transformed to a Deadite right in front of his face. So off on his quest he goes. He fights off Deadites along the way, some doppelganger Deadites that make a brand new clone of him. Ash easily defeats this Deadite clone and ends off his merry way to a graveyard that holds the Necronomicon. But this actually holds 3 Necronomicons, and after a couple whiles of trial and error, Ash messes up because he forgot the magical words that the wise man told him to say, which unleashes even more Deadites across the land. Ash returns back to Lord Arthur's kingdom, basically with his head down, but Sheila is trying to convince him, keep your head up, we got this, but Ash is like, nah man, we don't got this, we're basically all dead. And then afterwards, a winged Deadite basically scoops up Sheila, takes her back to the Deadite camp, where we find that evil Ash, the doppelganger that Ash had killed earlier, is back and alive, is running things now. He transforms her into an evil version of a Deadite. After this kidnapping, Ash now has motivation to fight the Deadites once and for all. So he trains up Lord Arthur's men and tells them to go and pick up Henry the Red's men for this battle. And then within a couple days, evil Ash and Sheila arrive to Lord Arthur's castle. Ash and his men ready for battle. Ash fights Sheila, who he's trying not to kill due to the fact that he actually has feelings for her, but he kind of knocks her out. Not knocking her out, he is then fighting evil Ash, who is actually a better fighter than Ash right now, and all hope seems lost until Henry the Red's men arrives just in the nick of time, adding that extra manpower that Lord Arthur and Ash's men need basically to fend off the Deadites. They win. Ash launches evil Ash on a catapult where like he blows up the Deadites, run away, evil is vanquished, and the day is saved. After the battle, the wise man gives Ash the sleeping potion that allows him to sleep his way into the future. He finds himself back again in Michigan, explaining his tale to his co-worker. His co-worker's like, yeah, whatever, but then afterwards, an evil Deadite actually arrives at his job at S-Smart. Ash is able to kill off this Deadite with a lever action rifle, saving the day, the end of the movie. And that is basically the full spoiler rundown of Army of Darkness. Doing it the best that I can on my 3rd attempt. Yeah, I actually really love this movie too, because it's very fun and energetic, as well as campy in the same breath. Because I think the previous Evil Dead iterations, the Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn, took themselves very serious with their horror. In many ways, Evil Dead 2 really didn't take itself serious with its horror, because there was a lot of slapstick humor and dark humor sprinkled within that entire sequel. But Army of Darkness 2 really leaned in heavy with like the Three Stooges jokes as well as the funny, whimsical nature of it. It blended in a lot of stuff. I would say it's a mixture of an Errol Flynn Robin Hood movie, Evil Dead 2, set within this Arthurian legend setting, which makes the movie, in my opinion, a lot of fun for a fan of genre. So before I get into that, I need to explain to you guys an important person, his name being Robin Wood. Robin Wood is essentially the godfather of horror film theory, and he was an essayist back in the 60s and 70s. He laid down the groundwork of a lot of horror movie analysis, and he broke down horror movies into 3 types of villains and story arcs, and I will talk about them. The first one being oppressed, repressed, and reactionary. With oppressed, it's basically just somebody that's kind of been like beaten down and has become something more terrifying due to like capitalism in a postmodernist society. For oppressed villains, you can think of characters like the Sawyer family within the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, as well as people like Jason Voorhees and Victor Crowley were basically victims of their physical and mental disabilities, transforming them into villains. And then with repressed, it's basically hiding an evil side of yourself, bringing it out into the public, affecting society in negative ways. You can think of these villains as like possessed characters. So in horror movies, particularly exorcism movies are a good example of this, right from the first exorcism movie, or maybe psychopathic killers like Patrick Bateman and Kathy Bates' character in Misery, or Norman Bates, characters who are hiding a darker version of themselves from regular society. And last but not least is reactionary horror, which is basically good versus evil. So you have somebody that has a good moral compass versus something that has no moral compass and just wants to do pure evil. Examples of this could be the Deadites from the Evil Dead franchise, as well as Xenomorphs from the Alien franchise, any like demonic being or Freddy Krueger, Pinhead, Chucky, like those characters. Characters who are just bad for bad. And with Army of Darkness, this movie uses two of these villains, repressed and reactionary. Reactionary being the looming threat of the Deadites, that is, who were just evil for evil. And then with repressed being Big Evil Ash and Deadite Sheila. Evil Ash is essentially a version of Ash that is basically all of Ash's morals basically thrown away. So like he's very, very impulsive. Basically, he likes doing bad things for fun. He likes hurting people, killing all of that stuff. And then with Sheila, it's a bit more complicated, so I'm going to explain it to you the best way that I can, even though like, I've messed up on this a couple times, but I think I got it. So with Sheila, she is repressing a lot of her urges and free will due to religion, as well as medieval like living standards back in the day for women. And so when she becomes a Deadite, able to let loose and revel in this brand new freedom. Before, she hated like Ash's crude remarks, his flirty lines. Now as a Deadite, she revels at Deadites actually whistling at her, calling her Foxy, basically all this stuff. Before, in many ways, she is sexually liberated as well as morally liberated.
I may be bad, but I feel good.
And you can see this with the way that like she shows no care of trying to kill Ash, as well as manipulate his emotions with her transformations throughout their battle. So those are some aspects of repressed for Evil Ash and Evil Sheila.
Hey everybody, it's Editing Ken. I just want to make a quick correction about Robin Wood's horror film types. As I said earlier that there's 3 of them, there's actually 4 of them, and technically 3. Let me explain it. So with repressed and oppressed, they're both basically the same thing, but just yin and yang. Think of blue Superman and red Superman in the 90s, but with the third one, aka fourth one, being apocalyptic horror. Apocalyptic horror is basically just the breakdown of society and patriarchal norms and just the nuclear family unit. Think of movies like Dawn of the Dead, The Birds, any of those movies like 28 Days Later, just where things are just bad for bad. And the Army of Darkness and Evil Dead franchise haven't actually touched on something like that yet, but I really hope they do. But anyways, I just wanted to go and make that quick correction that repressed and oppressed are kind of yin and yang. Think of red Superman and blue Superman from the 90s, and the fourth one being apocalyptic, which is just the breakdown of society and gender norms and all that stuff. Zombie movies and just end of the world movies. The end. Back to the video.
To end this all out, I will say Army of Darkness is a movie that I feel that like should get more credits due. Even though I do know the movie is controversial due to it's such a far off departure of what came before. If you think about it, Evil Dead 1 and Evil Dead 2 were very small ancillary stories basically that all took place within one location. Where Army of Darkness kind of expanded everything, going off to multiple locations. So you have Lord Arthur's castle, you have the graveyard, you have the woodlands, and then also the windmill. So that's like a lot of different locations, which is fine though, but at the same time, the tone was different. This movie is a lot more lighter compared to the other movies. Even though Evil Dead 2 had more of a lighter tone, fits black comedy and Three Stooges elements compared to the Evil Dead, the first one, which was way more mean-spirited and had like no humor. But with Army of Darkness, there's actually a lot of laughing for this movie. There's a lot of goofy moments. Ash is really funny. The Deadites are hilarious, I feel. So if you're seeing this movie back in 1992 and you're just a gorehound, you're like, what the hell is this shit? I didn't order this.
This is whack. I can't get jiggy with this shit.
But anyways, I still feel like you get a lot of fun out of this movie, and I think that's sort of like missing from the Evil Dead franchise now. Even though I loved Evil Dead Rise and I love Fede Alvarez's interpretation of the Evil Dead world, I still really wish we can go and get that fun action horror element of Army of Darkness within the franchise going forward. But I can also acknowledge too that this movie is not perfect. There are some elements that I feel are kind of weak, basically. I feel that the characterization of some characters are kind of one-dimensional, besides Ash. And I feel like this is because we've had 2 movies following Ash, so like we kind of know like Ash's likes and dislikes. We kind of already know what brings Ash joy, what brings Ash sadness, what brings Ash's discomfort. But like for all the other characters, I really don't know. I feel like one character in particular that doesn't really get like a lot of attention in this movie is Lord Arthur. Even though Lord Arthur plays kind of a significant role in the beginning of the movie, but then after like the first 15 minutes, he's kind of a background character. I felt that like with Lord Arthur, he has a pretty interesting standpoint within the story though, because yes, he is the leader of this kingdom, but at the same time, he's kind of at his wit ends with these Deadites. And so I would have loved going to see maybe a scene of him being like, I know it's my right to be a leader of my people, but at the same time, I have no idea what to do with these Deadites. And we have this stranger into my kingdom who knows a lot more about these Deadites, but I'm having a hard time setting my pride aside to let Ash lead. But no, he willingly lets Ash lead. I guess in a way, he had no ego, basically, and he really wasn't toxic. So good on Lord Arthur for not being toxic. Other characters that I felt that were one-dimensional were Sheila. Sheila kind of felt more like of a love interest in a way, and this kind of like standoffish to Ash throughout the whole movie before finding out that he actually has some value to her. And in the end, she was like, oh no, but then after evil Sheila comes out, that's when her character gets way more interesting, I feel. All right, the other character I'm going to talk about as well is the Wise Man. The Wise Man, I would say he kind of serves a role as many other Hero's Journey characters do. He is the mentor to our young hero, which our young hero is basically Ash. And essentially, he gives Ash guidance on what to do, and it's sort of like his sidekick in many ways. He hands Ash his chainsaw and boomstick after being pulled within the pit. That's essentially his whole character, giving Ash information and juxtaposition to the story for us as the audience, as well as Ash throughout the whole story. So his role was very limited in that regards. And just other characters, so like Evil Ash was just evil, and Evil Sheila was just the other half of Sheila to begin with. With those critiques aside, basically, and such the tone shift from the last 2 movies, I still feel like Army of Darkness has a lot of value, and I feel like it's a pretty great gateway movie for a lot of people who are novice within the horror genre. I feel like you can easily get a lot of joy and laughs basically with Army of Darkness. And I feel that we should give it more love, because I feel like it is kind of like the abandoned stepchild of the Evil Dead franchise. And I think Army of Darkness slaps. And I will say that. And I will stand on that hill, and I will fight anyone that tells me differently. So, Army of Darkness, #1 movie of all time. There we go. I said it. Mic drop. And that's where I'm going to end this video today. I want to thank you guys again for joining me on this video. I know it's been such a long time, but I'm so happy to be back, and I'm motivated to make more movies again, to make more videos, but maybe movies again. So please be sure to like, share, and twerk on that subscribe button when you get a chance, and I'll see you guys later, and peace.